All right, guys, welcome back to the Dirt Beers podcast. This is season 2, episode 2, and we got a good one for you this week. Join the show, former World of Outlaws and High Limit sprint car driver turned crew chief. He's from Hanover, Pennsylvania, part of the legendary Shark Racing team, son of Hall of Famer Bobby Allen. Spent many years behind the wheel competing on the national level, picking up wins. Now he's made the move to the other side of the sport, calling the shots as a crew chief. And bringing the driver's perspective to the setup and race day decisions. We're going to get into that transition, life after driving, and what it takes to stay competitive at the top level. So let's crack a cold one. And we got Jacob on here on the Dirt Beers podcast. Jacob, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Yeah,
really
thank
appreciate you
you
coming
guys.
on, Jacob. Man, this is really good to see you. So we'll start quick here. For anyone who might not know you or have any history on really dirt racing, I'll give us a quick rundown of how you got into dirt.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was a little kid, my dad owned a recreational go-kart track in Pennsylvania. And basically, that's where racing basically started. You know, my dad built the go-karts and he wanted to build the go-karts that would kind of like on the two tracks. He had an outdoor track, which we would call the outlaw track. And then he had the indoor track, which we called the chili bowl track. And he wanted to build the cars and everything to kind of replicate sprint car racing. So like that's what we learned, like throwing sliders and just kind of like the foundations, like or the fundamentals of like driving etiquette, I guess you would say. And we would play like leader to the top and all that. And guys like Troy Wagaman Jr. would be down there and different sprint car racers, and we'd do like 50 lap races. And I mean, that was when we were little kids. I mean, I don't know about Troy and everything, but as even when I was on the Outlaw tour, like I did that as much as I could when I went back home because this was good fun. So then we went go-kart racing, just like dirt go-kart racing, which I don't think really did anything for sprint car racing. So that's all that stuff. And at 17, I raced, like Logan was racing sprint cars. And then I had an opportunity, and I just, for me with sprint car racing, I just kind of wanted to be with my dad, be with Logan, and just to have a chance to race a sprint car. I never was like this guy who was like, one day I'm going to be a World of Outlaw racer and I'm going to win everything. Like, that wasn't what I thought. I just wanted to try it out, right? So that was at 17. At 19, my dad's like, well, if we're going to keep racing, like the only way we can do it is World of Outlaw racing. And then they just kept on
Yeah,
going. They just kept
jump
racing
in
World of
2 feet,
Outlaw.
right, and give her. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, that
I
was
love that.
how that all. Yeah, and that was it.
Here's the wheel. Learn the hard way, and don't try to wreck too much shit, right?
Well, I definitely wasn't wrecking anything for sure. I mean, I was super nervous, right? Like I
For
didn't
sure.
have much experience at all, and I didn't know the magnitude of being a World of Outlaw or the standard that kind of comes with being a World of Outlaw. At that time, I'm in the pit area with Darren Pittman and Steve and Sammy and Joey Saldana and Donnie and all these guys, right? And it's like the last thing I wanted to do, because I had no idea what I was doing at all, is to get in their way and then be like, dude, what are you doing out here? Like, you need to go home. So I was like, if there was like, you have running the bottom, like I ran the infield pretty much for like 4 years just to like, I just wanted to get respect and like,
Yeah,
if
for
I
sure.
wanted some advice or anything like that, I wanted to be able to walk up to these guys and say like, hey, like,
Yeah.
what do you think? And then not be like, hey, piss off,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, growing up with your dad, Bobby Allen, a well-renowned known sprint car driver, had a Hall of Fame career. What was it like, racing for your dad and having two cars out of the one team with you and Logan? What was that starting out on the road like that? Just, because obviously a lot of guys start out, it's just one car. You guys are running two cars out of the same trailer and you're both learning. So just take us through that and what those years were like.
Yeah, I mean, from to a lot of people, it was like a big deal, or it was like, you didn't see it and all that. For us, that's just what we did,
Yeah.
like whatever my dad said, we believed in. And my dad's standards, the only standard we knew, or like was the standard that we were learning to know. So
Yeah.
We had no help, you know, we had no like crew guys. Like when we first went to California, we were in my dad's old trailer from my dad's trailer before the trailer we have now was a homemade trailer, and I would
Wow.
assume he raced out of that. I don't know what years that was. You know, I'm saying maybe just off the top of my head, like maybe like late 80s, 90s, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we had that trailer and we raced out of that. And our first trip to California, we had my dad, who was 69 years old at the time, and our buddy Frenchie, who was also like 69, 70 years old at the time. And we didn't know how, like me and Logan didn't know how to maintenance cars or do any of that. We didn't know anything, right? So we were like picking up the rears out of the car by ourselves, mounting our, like just everything. It's hard to like
Yeah.
remember it, right? But the trailer was old, and like when it rained, right? Like so how we would do it is I would load my car in first, and I'd have to take the wing off, and then the wing would sit in between the two cars. And like when it rained, it wasn't sealed. So like my car would just be like flooded with water,
Wow. Yeah.
and that was just that. So, like I said, we didn't know any different, and it was unique, but that was just all we knew, you know?
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
When you said you alluded to your first 4 or 5 years racing with all the big boys, was there a minute or a time you're like, no, I want to like start to really give her and maybe throw some sliders, and I think I can maybe win some races here if you're like feeling competitive and back in those days?
Yeah. So I always would, you know, I had like moments, right? Like I might go a good qualifying run or have a good heat race win or whatever, make the dash. So I mean, I threw sliders and I had some moments. Definitely not like the first 2 years. I was who knows what I was doing, you know, in those years. But if you know, like I knew what I wanted, where I wanted to get, but I didn't want to like, I wanted to be sure of what I was doing, right? Like, if I threw a slider, I wanted to make sure I was gonna clear the guy. I didn't wanna crash anybody. I didn't wanna crash myself because it was preached, you know, like, we can't afford, you know, this and that, and I just
Yeah.
didn't want it to be learned that kinda way. So, okay, so if I had to think, like, I don't know, I mean, like, the first top 10 I ever had, or, like, the first big moment or feel good moment I can remember off the top of my head was here at Ive, and, like, I started in the back of the B, and the track was slick, and I ended up, you know, I started, like, 8th to 10th, and I won the B, and then I started in the back of the feature, and I got all the way up to 5th, and I remember that being like, "Whoa, this is so awesome," and everything like that. But the first time, like, having a chance to win, I don't know. River Cities, I think, comes to mind, and, like, I won the dash by a lot, and I was, like, feeling really confident in myself and everything, but then I went out for the feature, led, like, my first, like, 4 or 5 laps and flipped and, you know, went through that whole thing, but I don't know, I had a hard time believing in myself a little bit, you know, I didn't ever feel like I could really do it, you know, I just it was just so hard, everybody was so good, it was so aggressive, and I would get so nervous about, you know, all of it really, starting up front and racing against these guys, you know, the guys, and
Yeah.
it was hard to believe in yourself a little bit because it's just really hard to get the job done,
Yeah.
and I never got to that point where I always just like, yeah, I can do this, right? Like I never got there. I always struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah. So, talking about you getting your first top 10 and becoming more competitive over the years and working on it, can you take us through the night where you cracked through for that first win and what the feeling was like?
Yeah. So the first win, you know, like it was a long time, right? It took me 8 years to win my first World of Outlaw win. And like I said, I had a lot of good moments. Like I led laps, I could win a heat race and it looked strong, be fast, fast time, all the things. Like I could put it all together. I just couldn't seal the deal, right?
Yeah.
Or I would crash or I'd break down or whatever it might be. So when I won at Dodge City, to a lot of people, it was kind of like assumed like it was going to be this like fireworks exploding and all this and that. And like
Yeah.
it was just kind of like a one lane race. And I started on the pole and I won it. and it was great, but it wasn't like I was out there just getting
Yeah.
after it, like, with the boys and, like, really, having a dogfight out there. Like, I kinda wanted that feeling of, like, having a dogfight and, like, sliding and, get up on the wheel and really earn it, right? Like, I feel like that win at Dodge City, anybody coulda won it, right?
Yeah.
And so it didn't, like, solidify it for me. So it was great, right? Like, I did it, I made some money, everybody gave me hugs and all that stuff. My wife gave me a kiss, so I was like, whatever. So it was cool, but it just didn't give me that big feeling that people probably thought. But the support everybody gave me it was very nice. I didn't expect to get all the support and love that I got even throughout the years, even when I didn't win that race and stuff like that. But when I won, so much love, so much support that it was really nice. You just don't expect people to like feel a certain way about you or cheer you on like that. And you're like, that's super nice, right? Like, I don't know. So
And
Yeah.
yeah, it
there's the big
wasn't
sigh
like
of
the
relief, I'm sure too, right? Like just finally, oh, I finally
chill.
got one
Yeah,
after all these years,
say
right?
that.
For sure.
Yeah, it definitely was that, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. I didn't want to cut you off there.
Yeah, it definitely was that over the hump, but it wasn't like it was so it was over the hump in the sense of like you could tally a win, but
Yeah.
it didn't feel over the hump of like, can I win when I got to like duke it out? Like I
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
fourth and
You
win or
wanted that
take the
battle.
lead. Yeah, I wanted that battle. So then, whatever, whenever that happened.
So how tough is it mentally, like running on the tour, like 80, 85 races? You're just going from maybe hotel, sleeping in the toter, you're eating just barbecue, or you're eating fast food, just kind of just slumming it sometimes, right? Wearing the same shirt for 4 or 5 days, and racing suit stinks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, like in my personal life, right? Like when I'm at home, like I like to be clean shaved, nice
Yeah.
haircut, like I like eating healthy and whatever. On the road, it doesn't really like work like that, you're kind of just road dogging it all the time.
Yeah.
Especially for us, like we lived out in the toter. So like I lived in the toter with my dad and then eventually we got crew guys, and we
Yeah.
made homemade beds and we didn't know how to work like the water or anything like that, which seems crazy to say because it's so simple, but like we didn't do it, like we'd go to
Yeah.
Knoxville and like go to the shower houses and like it was just a bunch of dudes, right? Not just like mature dudes, like a bunch of 20-year-old dudes that didn't
Yeah.
give a shit
Yeah,
about
yeah,
anything, right? Like,
yeah,
and then there was my dad who also like he didn't give a shit either on like as far as like all that, like what mattered is like like the racing and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
man, like we lived in that toter and like I slept feet to face with my dad till I was like 25 until I got my own motorhome. And then like everybody else like was everywhere and everybody's clothes were everywhere and we
Yeah.
didn't take the trash out half the time. And it was like we were just a bunch of like young frat boys more or less that
yeah,
just didn't give a shit. And like we just did what what was important was like getting the car ready to race, like actually
Yeah.
racing and so on. Like the eating and the living and all that, like just the boys and just fucking doing it, like just
love it.
road dogging it, right? So
Yeah,
like so and then like mentally, right? Like being out here and you're living on the road. And it weighed on me as I started getting older and like more
Yeah.
mature and everything. And just like I didn't really have a home life. I just was always on the road and I was getting older and it weighed on me, man, because like I didn't get to where I wanted to be as a racer because I worried about crashing and like I felt a little embarrassed by like not being a real winner and yeah, it just wore on me to not be like a top dog in my opinion
Yeah.
and living on the road and not or out of a motorhome or out of a toter home. It just felt a little bummy a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that, because that's not like who I am. Like I like wearing nice clothes and looking nice and
Yeah.
looking healthy. And instead I'm like my hair's long, my beard's big. I look like my hair's all over the place and I'm dirty, going to like nice restaurants. I remember Jason Side's brother one time we went to this like steakhouse at this place we were around or whatever. And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, you can't go in there like that. Like you gotta change your clothes. And that was like the first time somebody said something to me like that. And I'm like, damn, like what the hell's that supposed to mean? Right. And then like I look back on it's like I just didn't have any realization of like or any care of like what I looked like or any
Yeah.
of that stuff. So it wore on me mentally, right? Like I just kind of was like, that's where like it all led to me in 2023 where Tanner Holmes ran the car. I was just like,
Yeah.
dude, my life on the road and as a racer, like always was kind of like going up, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever or getting better. But my life at home stayed the same. I was
Yeah.
married and I lived in a garage with my dad and like we lived out of like, my dad's apartment at the garage was nothing like special at
Yeah.
all, right? And we're talking like a 5 to 700. 700 is a lot of square foot for what I'm
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
so it was tight. So I had to go home and figure my life out for a second. People are like thinking I'm ready to jump off a bridge, but I'm like, not necessarily, like, I'm actually doing pretty good. I just
Yeah.
like, I just can't go 9 months every year
Yeah.
and not have my life at home figured out, and,
Yeah.
like, after 9 months of road dogging it, you get home and it's cold out and the sun goes down early. I don't
Yeah.
really feel like doing shit.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, that was all that. So, yeah, mentally,
Yeah.
it wore on me a little bit over time.
Yeah. For sure. Everybody needs that work-life balance, you need to have that time for yourself and to do the things you wanna do and progress your life and not solely focus on one thing, but I
Right,
wanna
but if
jump
you
out.
talk to Bob, my dad, about that stuff, it
Yeah,
didn't matter, and that's what
yeah,
was tough for me because I didn't he didn't he didn't understand. Like, when I would cry about that stuff, he wasn't having it, like, that was not an excuse, like,
Yeah.
we need to be out here racing and now looking back on it, it did, like, it was a big deal to step away like that, and I didn't
yeah,
just to kinda get up and leave and be a little selfish, I didn't understand it from a business aspect, but I get it now, and I do feel bad about that, but I had to get home. I needed a
yeah,
Yeah,
little
you
break.
gotta
I
do what's
needed
best
some
for you
break.
in the long run, right? You gotta
Yeah.
get your mentals right. That's huge for sure.
Yep.
mhm. So I wanna jump back, we were just talking about, how when you were on the road with your dad and the crew guys and stuff, it was kinda like a frat house of these 20-year-old guys. Is there a moment or a story that you could share with us that just emulates all of that? One story at a racetrack or a truck stop or something funny that happened.
Well, yeah, so, like, man, there's so many, it's hard to, like, think about,
Yeah.
like, just because it was, like, like, that was our life, so you didn't, like, magnify it, right? It was
Yeah,
just, like,
yeah,
every day was, like, something. I know, like, one time and it's so hard to say, right? Like, there would be, like, we never had AC, right? We never had
yeah,
AC in the toter, and, like, we'd be at Knoxville, and we would all be in there, and we wouldn't be working, we'd just all be, like, laying in there, and Knoxville, like, in that area, like, we would always sleep with the doors wide open of the toter because that was, like, our airflow, all the windows and everything,
yeah,
and in Iowa, there's fucking flies everywhere, fucking flies all the time. So, like, you'd be laying in there, like, sweating, right? And everybody'd be, like, getting pissed off because all you'd be sleeping, like, fly on your head, bzz, fly on your head. So, like, we eventually got tired of that, and then we got, like, our first AC unit, which was, like, a big deal. We put it in the window, and, like, that was, like, a big thing. But we'd all just be, like, laying in there. And then, like, one time we broke down on the side of the road and we didn't have our truck anymore. And like we lived at this truck stop for like at least 24 hours minimal. And we were like
yeah,
all sleeping in the trailer together and just road dogging it. I don't really remember anything like super funny or anything like that. I mean, we just
yeah,
had good times, right? Like when we were
yeah,
younger, we were like drinking beers and hanging out. We'd go out and have a good time and try to meet girls or whatever we would do, right? But we
yeah,
were just like having good fun and being with the boys and like just along that path was like, a lot of laughs and a lot of good times, but nothing like this like crazy moment of
Yeah.
laughter, like funny, just like what you would think of a bunch of young, like you
Yeah.
guys being young, hanging out with your friends and
Yeah.
carrying on. I just look at it more or less like we didn't really have a lot. Like I said, we didn't know how to use the tote, like fill up with water, and
Yeah.
we didn't always go to the laundromat, and we didn't always go to the car wash, and we were just roughing it, and like we didn't know any different. And we just listened to my dad, and that was just life, and
Yeah.
we didn't see it any other way, and that was normal for us. But from
Yeah.
the outside, it was like, man, there has to be these like funny stories and this and that, and there was a lot of great laughs. I mean, laughing all the time with my dad and this and that, and a lot of the laughs would come from like the debriefs in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Like last night, both Logan and our car were upside down. Well, we had
Yeah.
moments like that where we crashed, right? And everything's torn up and it was a shit night and all this. So in the morning, all the boys, right, we'd be in the toter, or we all lived in the toter at that time, right? We would drink coffee and sit around and make fun of each other and say like, that was stupid or
Yeah.
whatever. So those were always fun times, just debriefing with my dad and the guys in the toter and
Yeah.
arguing and picking on each other, like
Yep,
just good times.
for sure. Um, did you have any pre-race routines or superstitions that you had? You're like, maybe I don't know, I put my my right racing shoe on first, or this glove I spit in the glove or on the gloves or anything like that. Like baseball guys are superstitious like that, but I'm not sure if some of these guys on the tour do that.
I'm sure they do. It's all like what you believe in, right? But like if I come from my dad's like, school, I guess you would say, and like, dude, my dad doesn't give a shit about secret that he does no suit
Yep.
like he didn't give a
Yeah.
shit, right? Like if
Old
I was
school,
like,
I
hold
hear
on,
you.
dad,
Old
like
school, yeah.
yeah, if I had no superstitions. The only thing I'd kind of get on is like say like I was having piecing some good runs together, right? Or I had a good night. Like say last night I raced right and I run top five and it was a really solid night. Like I'd probably wear the same uniform again, just not to change the setup. Like that was part of
Yeah.
the setup. So that's a little superstitious in a way, but like
Yeah.
it wasn't all the time
Yeah,
or
it
anything.
wasn't
Like
that deep. Yeah, for sure.
it
Yeah.
wasn't that deep. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, people get
So
into it.
yeah. What's our let's talk about maybe, when you were racing behind the wheel. Even I guess you can talk about it as a crew chief now too. What were some of your favorite tracks to roll into? And then what's one where you were rolling through the gate, you were just saying, fuck this place, I want to leave.
Yeah. So, really, because people ask you that, like, what's your favorite track and all this and that.
Yeah.
And really, like, it's like racing's fun. Like driving a sprint car is fun. It's a it's a blast. It's a huge adrenaline rush. It's powerful. It's fast. It's hardcore. Sprint car racing is it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
So, but if you could get your car right and handling right and make it feel comfortable for you, then like any tracks you hated could be fun. I
Yeah.
I used to be dog shit, or I probably still am or was dog shit at Chico. Hated
Okay.
Chico. Place you roll into, like, fuck Chico. I would rather
Yeah.
just be at home racing Port Royal. Fuck that, all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? Crying nonstop. So like I roll up to Gold Cup in 2022 and they're like, I'm pill drawing. And the guy's like, you average a 24th place finisher. I'm like, yeah, dude. Or
Thanks,
like,
dickhead.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like, I just like look at him and I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Yep. Like
Yeah.
24 it is. It's like, I guess that's better than 25.
Yeah.
So
Better not making the A, right?
it doesn't matter. I don't even think I made the A most of the time. If I was at Chico, dude, I was pulling in, not making the race, and saying, I hate this place, right? So this is what I'm saying about setup and all this and that, and you just don't know, right? Because
Yeah.
racing's fun, and you can hate a track, and then you put a good setup in, and you feel comfortable, and then you're like me, Mister 24th place average, blah blah blah. You show up to Gold Cup in 22, and it's like I run second on my prelim night. I'm like high point
Yeah.
guy, and then I win Gold Cup, and then you go, oh my gosh, I love Chico. That place is incredible, right? But
Yeah.
in the end, no good. But that's just not my style, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
like that. But more of like, answering, I believe that. That's what I believe in. But like a track I would look forward to a lot was Eldora. And I would
Yeah.
look forward to I-55, and I looked forward to the big events. Like the big events, just like, all right, like, if you had a chance to start up front, like when I won my prelim night at Knoxville, right? Like just that feeling of like the crowd, right? Like you just see all
Yeah.
these people, everybody's like that's a sprint car fans watching, and it's like, dude, I'm starting like on the front row. I remember like rolling around on the four wide and be like it's time to be a fucking dog right now. Like when they
Yeah.
drop that green, like we're not here to fuck around,
Yeah.
So, but I just like love that feeling of like we're about to go to battle here, right? And just all the people and this and that. So I just look forward to like being at those events and hopefully having a chance at having a big moment. But I
Yeah.
on the not liking track side, anything rough, anything too narrow, Tulare, shithole,
Yeah.
sucks. Don't care what people say. It's not badass. Sucks.
Yeah.
But as a fan, right? Like, I don't want to be working on a car at Tulare because
Yeah.
they're on the wrecker all the time or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, as a driver there, it was too rough for me. I was a baby about it. I didn't like it. I was a sissy, all that shit. And then on the working side, like I said, it crashed. Now, as a fan, if us three show up, we're gonna hang out as boys and have some beers or whatever, right? And you get to watch a track like Tulare, you're like, this place is fucking
It's sick.
awesome.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever perspective you want to get into.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Touching on like when you're doing the four wide there, is there anything you miss being behind the wheel? Like, was that the adrenaline you get or just anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely have had moments of being like, man, like I'd like to get out there and like put a couple laps in or like, hang with the big dogs or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
moments and small moments. Like for me, man, like I don't have my dad. I got a
Yeah.
baby. I got a wife. I got to take care of my dad's team. And it's like I just can't put myself at that risk. Like
Yeah.
there's so much, it's way bigger than me at this point, right?
For sure.
It's not about me racing and like
Yeah.
what I can do performance wise behind the wheel. Like anymore, I like showing up to be like the best husband or the best dad I can be for my wife and my
Mhm.
baby, but then like showing up for my guys. Like now I don't have my dad. My dad was the ultimate leader for our team, right? And now
Yeah.
it's my job to be the ultimate leader for my team, the boys that show up, for me and the team and such. And like I look at it that way. So I don't miss it like people could maybe think that I do. I really enjoy what I'm doing. And I think that I just did okay as a racer. Like I did 10 years on the Outlaws or whatever
Yeah.
and one with the high limits, and I'm going to be 32 this year. And that was a lot of years. That's like 11 years, 10, 11 years. And I just did okay. Like,
Yeah.
so I just did okay. And it's time to give like younger people a chance out. Like, if I feel like if you want to
Yeah.
keep like the sport young, right? Like, you want, and it's hard to get a good opportunity, right? Like
Yeah.
opportunities are tough to come by. So it's really rewarding for me to give a young guy like Ashton an opportunity and help mentor him, help coach him, help be there for him any way I can. And that doesn't mean I have any clue on what I'm talking about, but I have all the right intentions to
Yeah, for sure.
guide
Yeah.
him, the best that I can. But yeah, I don't miss it that much at all. Like I said, it's bigger than me at this point, and that's just kind of how I look at it.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing, and you still get to kind of scratch the itch because you're wrenching on the car. You're still
Yeah.
smelling the race fuel and stuff, so it's still scratch. I feel like still gets the itch scratched for you, but which is still
Yeah,
nice. You don't have
definitely.
to. You're not risking yourself every night all
Yeah,
over the country
exactly. And
just to
like,
make a couple bucks, right?
I've always been a super competitive guy. Like when I race, like not doing well and like not being able to like kind of have the balls to go rip around like Tulare and be a dog all the time, that
Yeah.
bothered me. That bothered me because I cared about the right things, right? Like I cared about eating right, working out, watching the right guys. Like I really cared about it, but I just couldn't be that dog all the time. And now that I don't have to like, I would always worry about crashing and stuff like that and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that bothered me, mentally. Then when I
Yeah.
started working on the car, I didn't know what it would be like. Like I didn't like I thought it would be less nerve wracking. Well, it's like way worse. Like it's so nerve wracking, like watching Ashton race and you know wondering if you made the right setup call. And I feel like I can be the competitor I I want to be as a
Yeah.
mechanic than I could be as a driver. And like I have a really high standard. I'll do whatever it takes to have a good race car, a safe race car, a well put together product that like I care whether it is that or not, I care about it. That's my standard. And I want to see Ashton go around the track, and have a fast time and come back be like, man, that car felt really good. And that
Yeah.
makes me really happy watching the car and then like, him to have success because when you're having success, it feels amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I care about our product and I find more joy on this end of it than I did as a driver.
So talking about going from that, talking about from sitting in the seat to wrenching, being the head wrench on the car. What was the biggest adjustment making that switch?
Well, so when we raced, with my dad growing up, we had to make our own setups, right? Like my
Yeah.
dad guided us and he told us what setups, right? We learned from him saying like I want to do this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
And then we would physically do it. And then eventually we learned like, we would bounce things around. So we would always physically be doing our setups. So we would say I work on the car. I work on the car. Well, the big adjustment is I didn't work on the car. I turned the knob, I changed the air
Yeah.
pressure. Like, okay, that's working on the car. I don't want to discredit it. But like
Yeah.
there's mechanics don't get enough credit. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work every day, all the time, in the spotlight, in the parking lots. It's nonstop. You can have the best driver in the world and you got a shit car. There's no way. They might do okay, but you got to have a nice product as
Yeah.
meaning the car. So that was a big adjustment. I didn't realize how much work it was. And last year when I quit racing, I didn't have my main crew guy that was with me all those years. He went and
Yeah.
helped. He was with Cy Lynch, and I didn't have a full time like experienced crew. So
Yeah.
my dad wanted to race all the time, and in Pennsylvania, they race a lot of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, it was wearing my ass out. It is a lot of work. I mean, just everything that goes into trying to have a nice car. So that was a big adjustment. I didn't realize like the work that goes into it. And
Yeah.
crew guys and mechanics don't get enough credit. It's a lot of work. And I used to think it was kind of cliche, right? Like you go up for a dash draw and people like naturally say, like, always thank your crew, right? And I
Yeah.
would say, well, like the questions don't kind of line up, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You don't realize like when you are a guy working on the car all the time and the guy goes up there in the dash and he says, "Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, guys."
Yeah.
Actually says their name instead of like, "Thanks, my guys." It goes a really long way. It means a lot. Like, I think it's important for drivers, and it's hard to understand because you don't have the perspective of actually working on the car all the time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just make assumptions as a driver, of whatever. But man, like if I was a tell any driver, like you gotta thank your guys. Like,
Yeah.
how like I almost think like a cancer, like one of the biggest cancers that kind of tears apart the team is like you and the boys getting in each other's way, not
Yeah.
respecting each other, not being grateful and all that. So all those were like some decent adjustments and you can't judge competition. You can't look at, this guy that pulls in on the open trailer and be like, that guy, he ain't shit. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Anybody can have a good night at any time. The competition is tough across the
Yep.
board. And just to get a top 5 and finish the race and the car's all in one piece, dude, it takes a it takes a lot for that to happen and luck along the way. So I felt like those were mental things and like working as the amount of work that goes into like actually working on the car and like having a nice day. They were pretty big adjustments, big eye openers for me. Cause not to keep going on about it, but like when I first did my first mechanic thing,
Yeah.
I took it for granted, or I just had my crew took care of me so much. I had no idea how they plugged the toter into the trailer to get power. I had no idea. So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I was learning on the fly, and then I'm like
Yeah.
Yep.
running the valves eventually and setting the
Yeah.
fuel, and I'm like, this is a lot of work, boys.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like I don't want to make that sound like it was all me. Like last year, I didn't have a full crew.
Yeah.
I had so much fun racing around home last year and like gathering like 4 or 5 guys
Yeah.
that were like my boys from around home, and we did it together. I mean, I couldn't have done it without them, from the
Yeah.
guy that sets up the Starlink to the guy that's, grabbing me the gear pan, like
Yeah.
every little bit of help, makes a difference. And I felt like through the transition, I realized like how, even if it's little help, how long of a way it goes. You can appreciate everything. So the transition of it all made me more appreciative and grateful for like the work that goes into it and the crew behind you and the help that you get.
Yeah.
For sure. Just like the little things, right? Like you said, plugging the trailer into the power. The little things like that, or go all the way just to be able to swap a rear end out. Like just little stuff
Right.
to the
Saves
biggest
you
stuff.
time.
For
Yep.
sure. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So was it like a tough call to kind of just step away from driving, or did you think it was just I'm ready, I want to focus on the family and my wife and the kid and stuff like that, or is it kind of like some other stuff went into it too?
Well, it was tough, like my mind was, torn in a few different ways, right? Like
Yeah.
I went to Volusia last year, right? And it was the best I ever came out of the points in the World of Outlaws through the first 6 races. I was like top 6 in points. I felt the most mature, and I felt like the best I felt the most in tune with my driving in my car down in Volusia last year. And I
Yeah.
loved racing. Like, even though I didn't think I was the greatest and I was nervous about crashing a lot, but that wasn't all the time. Not all the time I was like worrying about like getting hurt and crashing. It was just when I started to worry about getting hurt and crashing, I couldn't get it off my mind. And then
Yeah.
somebody would crash. And even if they would walk away, I'd be like, fuck, like that looked nasty, and, like, flipping race cars fucking sucks. Like, it
Yeah.
hurts. Like,
Yeah.
crashing race cars is a bitch. Like, it sucks. Just don't crash them. So but obviously that's a part of the fucking thing. So,
Yeah.
but I still enjoyed it, right? I loved it. I loved competing, and I loved, being out there with the boys, right? So there was that, okay? But I was getting older and I was just okay. And I didn't feel like spending a whole 9 months of just doing okay, being
Yeah.
half in and half out. Okay. So there's that part of it. And then the other part
Yeah.
of it was like, all right, my dad, I let my dad down because he's relying on me to show up for him to run a business here. And if you can't, it's hard to replace me because I know that we don't have the funds and we don't have all the equipment and all this and that if I didn't like a track like a Tulare or Chico, I just pull in. And my dad wasn't like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like it didn't. He got understood that, and
Yeah.
because of like tow money and the point fund money and the pit passes and all that, he was still like, I'm learning this right as like on the other side
Yeah.
of things. Like you still generate money, and like I was so ego driven, like free and 15th. I suck. This is embarrassing. Like I'm wasting my, like, these are all things I'd say, like I'm wasting
Yeah.
my time and all this and that. So when I wanted to walk away, I really didn't want to let my dad down. And I wanted, him to feel comfortable and not stress out about who's going to replace me and just to go through that process. And like, people want you to post on Facebook or whatever, or you feel entitled to, or whatever that might be. And then that has a reaction, right? People are like,
Yeah.
and I already stepped away once in 23 just, for that amount of time. And people go, man, this guy's a head case. And this guy, like, he's wishy washy. Well, it's like, there's a lot that goes into this, right? And then
Yeah.
ultimately, the big one is like, I can't fathom not being there for my wife and my baby, right? Like
Yeah.
my dad unfortunately was an older man, right? My dad he'd be 82 years old right now. And I
Yeah.
felt like I looked at from the outside, people be like, that's an old man. And I understand he is an old man, but I didn't look at my dad as an old man. I looked at him like, man, he does his best. He acts young. He works hard. He makes no excuses. He's kind of a hard ass about things. I just don't know how many good years I would be lucky to have left with my dad. Like from
Yeah.
80 to 90, what does that look like? Right? Like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
are they mentally, physically? And I saw some of that stuff kind of change over the years, right? And it was a little depressing to watch. Okay. So if I didn't have my dad and I was driving the car and he would always say like, if I'm not here, I want you guys to be able to take care of the team.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know how to plug the trailer in, this and that. So I felt like I had to stop to know that I'm not putting myself at risk for my baby and
Yeah.
my wife, but I'm going to have to learn how to do all these things and
Yeah.
know with confidence how to do them. So if he's not here, I can do it. So that's where I made that transition. What
Yeah.
sealed the deal for me, all that stuff was on my mind. What sealed the deal for me is when I went to Lincoln and I flipped end over end or whatever. And it
Yeah.
was the first time I kind of landed on the back wheels and like everybody kind of like, if you're
Yeah.
kind of in tune with it all, like that's a vulnerable way to land. That's how
Yeah.
it's vulnerable to hurt your back. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Macri, all that
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
So when
Just
I
Yeah.
went through it.
landed
Yeah.
like that, it gave me a nice little jolt through my back. I like knocked the wind out of me. My chest really hurt. My head hurt. That shit sucks. Don't miss that for sure.
Yeah.
Hit my head fucking sucks. But it jolted my back. And I remember being like I get it, right? So I went
Yeah.
back to the toter and I looked at Hannah. I was like, I can't fucking do it. I looked at my little baby and I was like, no fucking way, boys. Gotta
Yeah.
go. Gotta
Yeah.
fucun take a hike. So
Yeah.
that's what
Understandable.
Yeah, for
yeah. So
sure.
it was
Yeah.
tough. Wasn't like I just like got up and left, but like, I thought about it for a long time. And then after that, that's what made me kind of stick to my guns. I'm like, I'm not screwing around with it anymore.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the kind of the current state of sprint car racing now. And I want to talk about, if you look back at when you started to now, what what is the competition like as far as how it's come, like the advancements in sprint car racing between when you started and now, and what makes these top teams be able to be so fast and compete at such a level where they're almost on the same page, and it really just takes that element of luck and having the car right in the certain situations to get wins on the national stage.
Well, I definitely think on the national stage and even regional, right? Like even regional, it doesn't matter if you're from Pennsylvania, Iowa, California, Indiana, like everybody's got like their studs, right? That's why I said you can't judge competition. Like you just can't assume you're not entitled to anything out here. Like what
Hmm.
you do, like what place you finish is all earned. And it's earned from the driver and the guys working on your car because like as they say, to finish first, you must first finish, right? So like that means your car doesn't break down and you don't tear shit up. Okay. I think competition's always been good across the board. I think it's all good. All the high limit guys are good, outlaw guys are good, regional guys are good. You might have a longer list or a shorter list, but great competition is everywhere. Okay.
Yep.
And what I think is a difference maker in everything is like from the teams and like this and that is how many times you break down or you
Yeah.
crash throughout the years. So the number of DNFs, okay, and your consistency inside the top 10 and your consistency through it out. I guess when I say inside the top 10 and not crashing and not breaking down, I'm in the mindset of like being top 5 in points, okay?
Yeah.
But you could, but that means it across the board, right? Like even for us, like we're 12th in points or whatever. All that same logic or etiquette still matters. So that is a difference maker, okay, and part of it. But also, I guess maybe a separator is for the best guys or whatever, or being on the national level is the standard. Okay. Like no matter if you break that, like no matter what, the standard of preparation is always elite. That's what I believe in. That's what I see from your greats, from your, teams and drivers. Like preparation goes hand in hand with all that. And I think that that is the difference maker, but that's been the difference maker forever.
Yeah.
Preparation is everything, and that does separate everybody, just having a high standard through the, no matter what it is. And I guess another little bit of a thing in it, and I don't know if this separates people or not, it's just probably a nice characteristic to kind of, or culture to kind of have in your team is like, it's hard to have a positive attitude through it all.
Yeah.
I'm not always great about having a positive attitude. I have to work on it, but man, does it go a long way because the positive attitude goes hand in hand of what I said. Like your team can be a cancer for each other of like getting in each other's way. And that can kind of make and break like,
Yeah.
performance and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I see. I think competition's great across the board. You can't assume anybody can have a good night at any time. Doesn't matter who you are, what you come from, what your trailer looks like. Like
Yeah.
it's all earned. Nobody's entitled. David Gravel gets quick time. Seems like all the time he earns it. It's not entitled at all. So that's that. The preparation and the standards are always high, you know. And as far as you said, like what I see evolve, I think the cars are basically, from what I feel like, is the same. Maybe some of the safety stuff that they try and come out with is really the only difference. And then they
Yeah.
changed the tires one time, but it's
Yeah.
all the same, I think.
But I'm curious your thoughts on the new seat systems, like the chasm system. What's your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I don't really know, like I feel like I really don't know. It's hard to say because everybody runs everything.
Yeah.
Okay? So like you got people with Chasm, you got people with the monkey bar things now, and you
Yeah.
got people with nothing, right? And you got good guys that are respected like okay, well-respected drivers who have a high standard or are really passionate about safety. You can find them all running one or the other.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter if you run Chasm, doesn't matter what you run, as long as you're mounting it safely,
Yeah.
you got good seat insert or whatever makes you feel safe and comfortable. They all have the right intentions, right? And that's
Yeah.
up to you on your standard, right? Like, and there's rules obviously, but like your standard of like, do you want a seat cushion or no seat cushion? Do you want a Hans or a hybrid? Or like, I want Simpson belts or this belt, right? Like
Yeah.
Ultra Shield or but that's all preference and your standard of like where you want to go with all that stuff. But as far as you know, a fixed seat setup or a moving seat setup, and a moving seat setup being monkey bars and chasm, they all have the right intentions.
Yeah.
So uh, hopefully you can see maybe some more info or whatever on all of it, and it can kind of give people more answers. But I think people are always trying to work at it, and that's the people involved in the companies.
Yeah.
Also, like people working on the car and the drivers as well. And there's so many little things you can do to help, you know, lean towards a safer race car that should be like standard but then you do have these, people that race and their teams might not be educated. They have no idea. So
Yeah.
it's good for manufacture or like the people that make the products or like people who kind of advocate for the safety stuff or like high respected drivers to kind of like make videos or whatever to kind of like show what they got going on so other people can learn and take a team that's not educated and up their standard as well.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. That was kind of the big question I was gonna ask too, is like any other changes you'd kind of like to see in sprint car racing in general, or just kind of the sport across the board, safety wise or anything else like that
I don't
from your
not I don't
experience.
think
Yeah.
about the like safety stuff or anything like that. I don't, I probably think there's probably too much like rules, right? Like too much rules. And I can't like nitpick on all that. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't pinpoint on all that. I just think like it's too like everything's like police, like and like people can get creative, and then like if somebody gets creative, then people cry, and then the next thing you know that there's a rule on that, and it's like just so many rules, right? Like, what fun is it to have a bunch of freaking rules all the time,
Yeah.
dude? Like rules are good, but they also kind of suck, you
Yeah.
For
know,
sure.
depending on what the rule is.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit, and I don't like this gets a little political, so I don't love that because it's not really like my thing or to like it's I my opinion probably doesn't matter. But one that I saw that I don't love, and it's tricky because like they mount the fuel tank in six spots,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, you definitely don't want them flying into the grandstands or into the
Yeah.
pit, whatever, and knocking somebody out. That's not great. But I don't feel like the odds of that are lower than what I'm about to say. Kid flips a 81, okay? The fuel tank's on, and this
Yeah.
thing is pissing fuel out, okay? Well, if he's upside down and this thing pisses fuel and he catches on fire, dude, the odds of that situation happening versus the fuel tank going catapulting into the
Yeah.
grandstands, that that the odds on the driver are looking worse than the ones the fans in the stands. And
Yeah.
all that's saying about the fans in the stands is probably tracks should have a higher standard on their fence and this and that, where it can't go into the grandstand. So
Yeah.
there's my political talk. I think that's kind of a bullshit rule right there. We can't have freaking people burning up.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
shit sucks.
100%.
Well,
Yeah.
you
That
can't
makes
have
sense
people
for
getting
sure.
hit in the stands either, like little Johnny can't get knocked the fuck out from the
Yeah.
tail,
It's true.
you know.
That's true.
Gets tough. It's a slippery slope for sure
It
to
is, it
take
is,
on
it
Yeah.
that
is,
for
because
sure.
you can't dirt tracks are so old, right? Like, naturally, like, the standards of track should go up, but, like, guess what? Like, they're not.
Yeah.
Dirt
Yeah.
track and still it's hillbilly.
Yeah. 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 So we'll get into some of the funnier questions, I guess. Now, I want to know, you've been all over the place from track to track, coast to coast. Which track has the worst concession food?
Oh, shoot, I never eat concession food.
No?
Probably all probably probably all of them. I shouldn't say it. That's not right to say because people put in their hard work, but, like, not good, dude. Just eating
Yeah.
fried fucking you know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
burgers and freaking corn dogs, and it's not that the food's bad. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm not a picky eater. Like, a burger from I-5 and Eldora probably is all the same to me. It's just
Yeah.
like I don't feel like eating that shit all the time. Get fucking
Yeah. Yeah.
heartburn over everything. So
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
answer
for
on
sure.
that. I
All
guess
right. I
Okay.
all of
respect
them.
that. I respect the answer.
Sorry.
Safe
Sorry.
answer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll keep with the heartburn here. I'm a big chicken wing guy. I'm from just across the border from Buffalo, so real close to Buffalo wings. And are you a flats or drums guy? Are you a spicy wing guy? Do you kind of like them Cajun or dusted, or you like salt and pepper? And this is a big one. I will judge you a little bit on this one. Ranch or blue cheese? You dipping them in?
All right, all right. I can take you down this road. So definitely, like at first, like I just didn't care, right? But then it's like it's flats. Like you got to go flats. And then I loved like buffalo, like hot sauce and stuff. But
Okay. Yeah.
I can't eat wings anymore because I just get such bad I get heartburn over
Yeah.
everything, and it's a motherfucker. Um, so, okay, but I do like wings, and they gotta be flat. There used to be buffalo, now it's barbecue, keep it
Yep. All
more
right.
like that way. And
Yeah.
then it used to be like, "Oh, we gotta get ranch," but you can't do ranch, you gotta do blue cheese. It's just what it is. So,
Oh,
like,
there we go.
once you kinda get that right, like that etiquette dialed
My
in,
man.
dude,
My man. Yeah.
you can't go back, right? Like, ranch tastes terrible after you get on like, blue cheese and wings is etiquette. You go to
Yeah.
fine dining still has wings, right? And they'll
Yeah.
bring you not these fucking, like, T-Rex looking wings. They give you a nice etiquette wing, nice, right? Like, delicate wing. And then you say, "Hey, buddy, I want ranch." They're gonna say, "Buddy, hit the door." The exit
Yeah.
sign's that way. Like, you don't it's just etiquette, right? So, that's just how you do wings. You gotta do blue cheese, and you gotta do flats and, you know, have a
That's that
little
the blue cheese.
have a
That
little
was the right
etiquette.
answer I was looking for.
That
That's
was the
the
right
answer I was
one.
looking for. That was the right one. Absolutely. Love it.
So with this being the Dirt Beers podcast, we gotta ask Jacob Allen's having a couple cold ones. What's his beer of choice?
Well, I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank
Okay.
alcohol in like shoot, I don't know, like four years I think now. And like
Okay.
honestly, I loved having beers, right? Like beers are fun and they taste good and they're cold and they're nice, right?
Yeah.
Definitely could drink some beers if I wanted to or used to or whatever. Um Heartburn. Can't take
Yes.
the fucking
So,
heartburn, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
headaches. Headaches suck, heartburn, right? But when I
Yeah.
drank
Heartburn,
the beers,
headaches.
2 shitty ones, but the beers, right? So when I like to drink beer, I drank Yingling Lager. That was like my
Okay.
go-to.
Nice. Good
Yeah,
pick. Good pick.
Okay.
Yep.
I would
That's a
drink
good pick.
Yingling Lager, and if I was drinking light beer, it didn't matter. If I went to like the bar, I would be like Yingling, Yingling, or
Yeah.
Budweiser, or Bush Heavy, or
Yeah.
Bud Heavy. Yeah, that's what I
Now
would
let's
do.
go. No
Yeah,
light beers
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Love that.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I drank. It was either now I'm thinking about it, Yingling, Bush Heavy, and Bud Heavy,
All right.
Nice.
Love
and
it.
I'm proud
Love
of
it.
that. As a
Absolutely.
retired beer drinker.
Yeah. Getting old sucks, man. The heartburn and the hangovers hit like a Mack truck. Like just
Yeah.
Yeah.
brutal now. Just brutal.
But man, my thing was like I could, like I just like to have like it's easy to have fun and like a bunch of the guys hanging out and shooting the shit and laughing and like
Yeah.
they taste good and they just start going down easy, right? So like,
Yeah.
dude, I could hammer off 12 beers no problem.
Yeah.
With the boys, like it's so fun,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
That's the
easy. Yeah.
problem. It's
You
too
blink and
easy.
the box is empty, right?
Yeah, like, oh shit, is there any more beer? And it's like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Gotta go to the
You've been
store.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So like who's the funniest guy in the pits that you can beside yourself? Because we don't want to get too cocky on it. But
Who's the funniest guy in the pits? Well, like, I've got to know people throughout honestly, like,
for
a
sure.
funny one that I see kinda, like, more, like, publicly, like, or, like, in interviews and stuff, I
Yeah.
think Austin McCarl's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. He is.
He does some funny interviews, just like, whether he wins or whatever dash. Now, like, on a personal, like, level, like, I always had a good time cracking up with, like, me and Sheldon,
Yeah.
we always have good laughs and like J Mac he's always good for a good
Yeah.
laugh and um I always seem to like joke around with Brad Sweet a good bit and
Yeah.
but me and Sheldon and J Mac we've had some good laughs for sure. They're some funny guys once you get to know them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get into now. Obviously, you saw we posted up on the Instagram asking the fans for some questions. So we got a
Yeah.
handful of them here. My first one's gonna come from Ascent Media. Jared, we actually had him on the show last year, but he asks, "Who's your favorite BMX rider of all time?"
I always enjoyed this guy named Tommy Dugan and he's just like this real long hair guy and he loves like going real fast and hitting big jumps or doing big gaps and stuff like that. I always thought
Yeah.
he was pretty badass. Just like how fast he would go and how high the jumps he would be. Tommy Dugan.
So next one's from Matt. I think this is your buddy Sean, right? Matt What's his last name?
My one's Dustin, but
Oh, Dustin. Sorry. Yeah, never mind. So this is Matt DeGua. I think that's how you say his last name.
Uh,
Not 100% sure what he means by this, but what is his favorite cigarette? Oh, what's his favorite cigarette? I guess it's kind of was what he's asking.
well, what? So I'll throw around the term because like I don't drink the beers, right? So
Yeah,
like, and I'm just like, dude, I'm always like gallon water, just drinking water all the time, right?
yeah,
But like I'll call it like I want a fridge sig, right? So I
yeah,
go and my crew guy, he always has like Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi. So I'm like, we have a
yeah,
tough night last night. I'm like, Tyler, go get me a fridge sig, dude. I'm freaking jonesing right now, so no real cigs. I mean, sometimes I get stressed out enough that I'm like, I see somebody smoking a cig, I'm like, that doesn't look terrible. But no cigs, just Diet Cokes or Diet Pepsi or those are the
nice,
fridge cigs. So
nice.
one of them.
So next one's from Race Nelson. It says favorite racing memory.
Probably my favorite racing memory would be when Logan and I swept the prelim nights at Knoxville. That was pretty
Yeah,
neat to share that moment in my dad's throwback car. That was really neat. Winning at Lincoln, is up there as well. That was just a really neat moment. And honestly, just looking back on it all, just being out here with my dad and Logan, just that
yeah,
time spent together.
yeah. Next one's from Janky Bobby. It says, ever run the Chili Bowl again?
Nah, no chili bowl for me, and it's unfortunate. Janky Bob is a midget mechanic, and like you go
Oh,
down,
okay.
like the ramp, right? Well, like I had learned that like it was unfortunate because I was already involved in racing the chili bowl, but I knew like this ain't. I made it out of the heat race and got to the qualifier, and once you get to the qualifier, you start getting in like the big dogs, right? You kind of look around,
Yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, like, and then that pace and like how easy are to flip, I'm like, all right, this ain't for me. I'm in deep here and
yeah,
I got to get out, right?
yeah,
So I'm running the infield, okay, and there's like all these yellows, and this Janky Bob, he's like 3/4 of the way out on the track, and he's like, run the fucking top. So, like, I'm like, "Dude, you can't miss this fucking guy." He's in, like, the middle of the track, and I'm like churning the other way, right? So I get done with this race, I
yeah,
get off the ramp, and he's like, "Didn't you see me, like, telling you to run the top?" I'm like, "Dude, I had no fucking idea." He thought like, I
yeah.
thought I was fucking wheeling it down there, dude. So eventually I was like, "Dude, you gotta quit worrying about me. I'm not your fucking guy here."
That's funny.
So there you go, Jakey. I seen you out there, buddy. Great guys though. Steve Carbone and Janky Bob, good guys. I really enjoyed hanging out with them and they
Yeah,
were awesome.
nice. So our last question comes from Sean's buddy Dustin Quinn. What preparation do you go through when you go to a new track?
Well, just when you go to a new track, like or you just if it's like a small track or big track, so you kind of have a baseline, right? So like you're just the preparation on that kind of question, just like your baseline setup. So like what gear you'd run at a big track, small track, bars,
Yeah,
stagger, wing, and that stuff. And then the maintenance preparation's all the same. The standard's always the same. You go through the whole
yeah.
thing every single time, no matter what. So when you go to the racetrack, you're not working on it. You're just making adjustments and so on. So you just would judge the track, big, small, whatever, and have a baseline. And then you're gonna learn as you go because it's new. And you just make whatever adjustments the car needs, and hopefully it works out.
So we're just at about an hour now, but we'll get to our little wrap up questions here.
You guys are good. Like I'm just saying that.
Yeah, that's okay. We got through mostly everything we wanted to get through anyway, so it's been awesome. But what's a goal moving forward as a crew chief for the team? Is it to get that top 10 in points, then work on getting top 5, then really racing for championships? Is that your goal, or is it something else?
Man, dude, this whole thing I got going on and not having my dad and my baby and a rookie driver. I got a lot going on and it's a
Yeah,
lot to
yeah,
learn and it's a lot of work. And Really my goal for this year, man, is just to fucking make it.
Yeah.
Just to get to the end of the road, get to
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
finals with the guys and always hold the same standard no matter if it's a bad night, good night, shitty track, Knoxville Nationals, like the standard stays the same no matter what. The
Yeah.
culture is having a positive attitude no matter what. And the goal is to finish the year. It's going to be, naturally, all 5 rookies want to be rookie of the year. That's a
Yeah.
natural thing to want. That's a dogfight all the way to the end. And all the things I've said about, make it, like you got to make races, finish races, the consistency,
Yeah.
and it's going to be tough. It's a huge, huge challenge and it's got to be earned. And all of these guys have good nights and they're good racers. So you would love, I'm hopeful to be able to lead in the team and Ashton be able to accomplish rookie of the year, but everybody wants that. That's natural. I'm hopeful that that can be an accomplishment we secure. I hope it would be amazing, and I'm hopeful and to see
Yeah.
our team top 10 in points, but I just kind of just follow the standard and where it lands, okay?
Yeah.
The goal is just to finish the year and finish it safely. That's what
That's a
those
good
are my
goal.
goals.
So it's a good goal, safe goal, smart goal too.
Safe
Don't
goal.
want to set don't
Yeah.
want to set things too high, right? That's perfect.
Yeah, and you can't have expectations. It's
Well,
a
for sure.
rookie. I'm rookie basically on the World of Outlaw Tour as a mechanic, and
Yeah.
Ashton's a rookie as a driver, and we don't have my dad,
Yeah.
and I'm living in a freaking RV with a 17-month-old baby. So I
Yeah.
got all kinds of shit I'm trying to figure out.
Battle on both sides of the track, eh? Holy man.
Oh, brother, it's a fucking grind.
I couldn't even imagine, honestly. I try to say it,
Yeah.
but I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine.
This is the most peace I've had just sitting on this freaking grass hill talking to you guys.
Glad we could help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Any advice for any young drivers trying to either start their sprint car racing career or kind of try to progress into some bigger, better things?
Yeah, I would say, racing's tough. Like you're gonna have it's a huge learning process. So there's gotta be a lot of patience. There's gotta be a strong mental, right? And I guess where I kind of mean like in the mental side of it, like it's so easy to get emotional and have an ego with racing. Like you think you're this, but it humbles you because you run last, or then the next night you have a chance to win or whatever. You just have to be patient and trust the process and believe in yourself and what you want to aspire to be. Like, do you want to be great? Do you want to be a World of Outlaw winner? And then just trust the process and not give up on the process. And you can't
Mhm.
take it personally. I really struggled with taking it personally. Like if I felt like I took it really personal if I didn't do well. And I think people do struggle with that, whether they admit that or not. You just can't take it personal. You just always have to do your best as a team. As a team, your preparation and your standard on getting a car ready to go to race, that standard has to be high and you have to do your best. And that doesn't mean your standard can still be high and you don't have a ton of knowledge. You just know what you know, right?
Yeah.
So doing your best as a team on preparation and doing your best as a driver. So when you get done with your 50 race season, 70 race season, you can all look at each other in the eyes and say, hey, this is where we think we can get better for next year. But hey, we were the same from night one from race 1 to race 70, and we were the same through the week in the parking lot as well. We didn't go through the car and be like, we fucking sucked last week.
Yeah.
We're not gonna check this. We're not gonna do that. So it doesn't matter. We suck anyways. Like, dude, you just gotta keep plugging away at it. And it's not
Yeah.
for everybody. It's a fucking dogfight, even for the best of them. You
Yeah.
always gotta, yeah. So it's can't take it personal, and you just always got to do your best, and you can't give up if you really want it.
Good
Nice.
advice.
Those
Love
are
that.
some good advice for the young guys out there. Jacob, where can people follow along with you in this journey of you guys out there on the road. If you want to, plug your social medias, plug whatever you want. It's your space.
Well, basically, I'm not always super good on social media. I probably would like to be better, but you can follow along for sure on Dirt Vision. You can definitely catch me somewhere on Dirt Vision somewhere if they show me or whatever. But you can catch a lot on Dirt Vision or worldofoutlaw.com point standings or results or whatever. But I'm on Instagram, it's just Jacob Allen 1A on Instagram, and I never tweet anything, so you can follow on there, but that's pretty much abandoned building over there in Twitter. And then I get on, so my big ones are just Jacob Allen Racing on Facebook. I post on there a little bit, but I probably post the most on Instagram, which is Jacob Allen 1A, and I'm just posting whatever. Doesn't even matter.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Huge thanks to Jacob for coming on the show. We really enjoyed it. Make sure you follow him on his Instagrams and socials. Keep up with the 1A team and Shark Racing in general, what they got going on. Make sure you like, subscribe this video, share it with your friends. We really appreciate that. And as always, it's been another good one, and we'll see everybody in the next one. Thanks for coming on again, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I enjoyed talking with you guys. And yeah, best of luck with the podcast and have a good year and take care of yourself and the heartburn because that shit sucks.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Yep. Take care, guys.
See ya.
See you, buddy.